For the next cushion, we're going to add a decorative piping around the edge. So the process for making this cushion is going to be slightly different. First of all, let's apply the piping around the edge of our decorated cushion panel. So the front panel we're going to apply the piping to. So I'll pop the back panel and the zip to the side. And then I want about 2 meters. So this cushion panel measures about 45 by 45. You need to have a little bit extra so that you've got a bit of an overlap. And I want to lay this down so that I'm going to start stitching about here, and I'm going to leave a bit of a tail. I want to just bring that in ever so slightly from the edge. So when I'm sewing my piping to my cushion cover, it's sort of sat in about there, so I'm still giving myself a nice seam allowance, which will make it a bit easier to attach the zip into the bottom later. So I've put a clip here just where I'm going to start, and then I'll just trace the piping around the edge of the cushion as I go. When I get to the end, I'm going to show you how to overlap and create a nice join here for your piping that's really nice and smooth. And I'm putting the join at the side as opposed to at the bottom, because the zip is going to go in the bottom there, and I'll just keep everything else simple at the bottom. So let's go on over to our sewing machine and get the piping sewn on. So I've put my zip foot on my machine, and this is to allow it to travel past the piping, and I've just nestled that up next to my piping there. Put my needle in. You can actually move your needle over to the left a bit as well if you want, so you're nice and snug. You really want to be sewing in here next to the piping. So I'll start off with a back stitch, and just remember that I have got that tail of piping there free, and I'm just going to work my way along. So you'll see that I've just come in a little bit from the raw edge on my cushion. I'm approaching the corner now, so what I want to do, as you get to the corner, we are just going to snip into the binding there, into the flange of the piping, and then we want to push that around the corner like this, so you can get it sort of as crisp as you can, but you will have a curve on this corner with the piping, and then we just work our way around. And just slowly and carefully work our way around the corner there. And then back along the other side. And then you're going to continue like that all the way around the edge of your cushion cover until you come to the area where you started, and you're going to stop before you get to that bit, and I'll show you what to do next. So now I'm coming back to the point where I started. I just want to leave myself with a nice sort of 12 to 15 centimetre, I suppose, gap. So I'm just going to do a back stitch there, and I left myself with a nice big gap there between the two ends. So now let's look at how to join them. There's my overlap. I just want to now unpick some of this, but I've got rather a lot, so I'm just going to trim that down a little bit. Let's just trim it down. So I still do need a bit of overlap, but not quite so much. Let's trim that down there. So I've got a bit of overlap there. And then I want to just unpick the piping and unpick the binding away from the piping. So if you think of, you've got a sort of a strip of material here going around the piping cord. So we're going to just unpick the piping just a little bit. Do that on both sides. Okay, so that's unpicked. Lay one piece of material, one piece of binding on top of the other, and then lay the cords down flat next to each other. like so. Now at the moment that would be double thickness of piping, which would look really bulky. So we need to cut through that. So what we want to do is to cut through like this. This way we know that they're going to be the same, you know, they're going to butt up to each other. So you lay them side by side and then cut through both at the same time. If your scissors can't manage that, then just cut one and then just measure up and cut the other one so that it meets. But this is a nice way of doing it, I find. So that when they lay down now, they're going to just meet up with each other quite nicely. And you won't get any bulk where they're overlapping each other. So now we've got these cut down to size. Now we need to make our join in the fabric here. Now one way to do this would just simply be to fold this back, fold one of them back, and lay this one inside this one. Lay the piping cord down and fold everything over, and then sew along here. Now the problem with this is that you do get this rather bulky area here. You get like a little bit of a lip here, and it's fine, but if there is a way to sort of reduce how much of a bulk you have here, and if you look at the piping actually, you'll notice that where they've professionally joined it, what they've done is this diagonal seam, and that's what we're going to do now, and that is what will make it look really nice and smooth, and it will make that join almost sort of invisible. So first of all we need to trim this down, and what we want to do is we want these two to overlap each other by the same width of the piping. So grab yourself a piece of the piping, which this will all make sense in a minute, and just unpick it so that we know what width we're dealing with. The other way would be just to measure. So you could just take your tape measure and measure across here. Now this measures 4 centimetres. So you could say, well, look, I know that I want these two pieces of fabric to overlap by 4 centimetres. That's the other way of doing it. So the other way of doing it is just to get a piece of your piping, unpick it, lay it out flat, and then you kind of put that sort of, so let's say this is our end here. In that case, we want this one to overlap it by that much. We want the 2 pieces of piping, 2 pieces of material that surround the piping, to overlap by the width. So we want the overlap to be 4 centimetres. So you can either measure with a ruler or measure with a spare bit, and then you just chop one of them down, only one. So there we go. If I cut that there, then we know that this is now overlapping by 4 centimetres, which is the width there. So this is overlapping by the width of our piping, of our binding, or by 4 centimetres. You can see you've got the overlap there. And by doing that, really what you're doing is making sure that this will sit smooth without any excess. Now what we want to do is put these two right sides together. So I'll just fold this cushion out of the way. So these two ends are now right sides together, but we want to now twist 90 degrees, like so. It's right sides together, they're top and front on top of the bottom there, and twisted round. Then we're going to sew along here from corner to corner. So we're sewing off a right angled triangle. We'll trim that away, and then we'll have a lovely diagonal join in our binding. I'll make sure that the piping's out of the way. Pop my normal presser foot back on, a couple of back stitches, and I'm just sewing a diagonal line there. Whoops, from corner to corner. Sewn along there. So next thing we want to do is to trim away this excess. Before you do that, just sit it down and just check that it is the right way, which I can see that will sit nice and flat, so that is the right way. So once you're sure about that, then you can just trim down your seam allowance, and then you want to just press that seam flat. All of this will help to make your piping sit really flat. It's fiddly right now. Here we go. Get in there with my finger and just press that seam that you've just sewn really nice and flat. You can just give it a little press with the iron if you want. And then lay your piping down inside so it's snuggled inside, and then just nice and tightly just draw that material, that binding, around the edge of your piping like that. Secure that closed with a couple of clips. So once that's all nice and tight and flat, secure the gap closed with a couple of clips or pins. Oh. And then we're going to go back over to our sewing machine and just join up where we've left off. There we go, so I can just pop my zipper foot back on and just nestle that up. Whoops. Let's see, where did I leave off sewing? Right back down there. So I want to kind of overlap where I was sewing before. Oops. I just ping my needle over a bit so that I'm nestled right up next to that piping. And then do a little back stitch to begin with. And then off I go. And I'm just going to close that gap. Piping is now secured down all the way. So as you can see, the piping is now attached all the way around the edge of our cushion, and we've got a nice kind of invisible join just there. And we're going to, before going on to putting our zip into our cushion, we will just go around the edge and we're going to overlock all the way around the edge. We're going to overlock the piping, the binding, the binding bit of the piping. We're going to overlock to the cushion fabric, and we're going to lob these corners off with our overlocker at the same time to keep everything nice and smooth. If you don't have an overlocker, then just trim away the excess fabric at the corners and then zigzag stitch those layers together, or overcast with your overcast feature on your sewing machine. So let's go and do that now. And in fact, whilst I'm doing that, I shall also overcast around my backing fabric as well. So I'll start overlocking at a corner just because it's easy, and I'm going to just make sure that I'm catching everything on the edge there. So the edge of my overlocker foot is right up against the piping, and everything is being neatened off and held together. When I come to the corner, I just want to follow the piping, and I'm going to cut off the corner of my fabric. So there's both my main panel and my backing panel overlocked all the way around the edges. We're ready to attach our zip. We're going to put our zip at the bottom edge here, so it's nice and discreet. So just place your zip right sides together with your fabric. So what you want is essentially this is the right side of your zip here with a puller on it. So you're putting that down facing the bottom of your cushion, and you want to just clip or pin the zip tape to the bottom of your cushion, so the bottom edge of your zip tape is level with the bottom edge of your cushion. And in doing so, your zip teeth here need to be kind of nestled in. If you fold that back, they're kind of nestled into the edge of your piping there. Eventually that will curve round and your zip will sit just behind your piping. So the first thing to do is to attach your zip along this edge. Okay, so we want to just, using our zip foot, we're going to just start right at the top there. I'm really nice and nestled in. I'm just going to put my needle position back to normal. It was just over to the side there from where I was doing my piping. So let's just start with a couple of back stitches. And then we're really letting these zip teeth here, let's move that puller out of the way, these zip teeth here are really kind of snuggling in next to the edge of your piping there. Once you reach your puller, you can just lift your foot up, making sure your needle is down in your fabric, and you just wiggle that out of the way and then carry on. If you try to sew past your puller, it's going to make life difficult, but you just want to make sure that your zip teeth there are still nestled into that piping. All the way down, I'm going to go to the end. Back stitch and finish. So there's my zip there at the bottom of my cushion. The next thing you want to do is put right sides together with the backing fabric. Match that up, and again we want to just match up the edge of the zip with the edge of the fabric. So that's how it looks from inside. So the edge of the zip is matched up with the edge of the backing fabric. So if you open that up, you can see that your zip is just in there. So take your time, reposition things as you go, and the raw edge of the zip and the edge of your cushion backing should sort of match up there. Once you get to the zip puller, just once again, come inside there, wiggle it out of the way past your zip foot, and then continue all the way to the end. So both sides of our zip have now been sewn in. What we're going to do now is finish the ends. So what you want to do is fold the teeth in, so fold the end of that tape inwards and put these raw edges together. And then secure that with a clip. Same on the other side, so fold the tape inwards raw edges together and secure that with a clip. You can move your zip puller to about halfway down so it's out of the way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in and just to the, if you can see, there's my metal staples there, just to the outside of those metal staples, we're going to sew a straight line back and forth here. And then we're going to sew another straight line just to the outside of the metal staples on the other side, just back and forth down here. So I want to make sure that I am not, that I'm to the other side of my metal staples, so I don't want to sew through those. And I'm just going to sew up to the piping, and then I'm going to back stitch, and then come back again, and then go back again. So that it's really, really strong. So that's given me a nice strong end to my zip there. And then I'll do the same on the other side. I'm just keeping my zipper presser foot on for now, just because it's only a short stretch of sewing and I'm going to need my zipper foot in a minute anyway, so rather than changing it over, I'm just keeping it there. So forwards, backwards, forwards and backwards again, making sure to avoid the metal staples. I've just gone either side of those. So that's the ends of my zip now sewn. There you go, so you can see there's my ends of my zip I've sewn in, and if I fold this back, it's kind of catching the fabric there, which is what you want, because you want this to sort of fold up here and eventually create a bit of a lap to cover your zip when your cushion is finished. So that's how you sort of want it to be looking at this stage. So next up, we just want to now come round and pin or clip our cushion cover to the backing fabric all the way around the outside edge. So that's now clipped all the way around the edge there. Obviously that's the edge where the zip is. Make sure before you start doing this, I'm just realising that I've left my zip done up. In order that we can turn it round in a minute, let's just undo that zip. Otherwise that's going to prove a bit difficult, so we want to be able to turn it right sides out. So leave the zip partially undone. And now we're going to come round and we're going to sew around the outside perimeter of our cushion. We'll now sew all the way around the edge of our cushion cover. So just tuck this under here where your end of your zip is. Just getting a bit caught up there. There we go. So where that line of stitching, that's where you want to start. Actually, if I lift my needle there, I can just move my needle over a little bit to make sure that I'm really nestled into the edge of that piping. So let's do a back stitch to begin with. And then we just want to pull that over. And we can feel, you can sort of see where the edge of that piping is, and you want to be nestled into it, and your zip foot will just be allowing you to get nice and close into the edge of that piping. And you're just going to travel round that corner there. And you can see I'm sewing nice, because I can actually feel with my fingers where the groove is, where that piping finishes. And I'm nestled in nice and tightly up to the piping. The clips help me keep everything in place, because the two panels can kind of wiggle away from each other and creep or walk a bit. And I'm just going to continue all the way around the edge of my cushion cover until I get back to the other side of the zip where I started. Now approaching back to where I started, so I'll just travel around the corner there. I can see there's my line of stitching, so I'm just going to come up to that and do a back stitch. That's my cushion cover sewn all the way round. If you want to, you could trim into the corners now, but this backing fabric is quite lightweight, so I think it'll be fine. I'll just be careful when I turn it through to fold the fabric in. So I just want to, yeah, I think that'll be fine. But if you feel like your corners are quite bulky, you could always sort of trim that fabric away a little bit. So let's turn it all right through to right sides out. It's looking quite nice with this gold accent on it. Let's now turn to right sides out. And you've got this lovely kind of gold piping that accents, picks up on the golden accents in this beautiful design that we've got for our cushion. So the final thing to do is if we turn this over to the wrong side, so the back of the cushion, you can see that I've done the zip up there, and you can see that this backing fabric, let's turn it around this way, you can see if this is sitting flat, then the backing fabric does want to create a little bit of a lip over that zipper. And I'm using a black zipper actually. In the kits that will come with these cushion panels, I'm going to put colour matched zippers matched to the backing fabric, so they will be a lot more discreet. But I just want to sort of sandwich my zipper there in between the front and the back, and then in doing so, if I just smooth this fabric down, I kind of get this natural lip of fabric that wants to cover up my zipper. So with the zipper kind of pressed flat, I can then pop a pin through. So I just want to catch the zip tape and the fabric when I'm popping my pins through. And I can open my zip back up. Oop. To just wiggle the pins if it won't quite go past them. Okay. So we'll now just come in and do a row of stitching down here just to hold this lap in place. So you'll want to undo your zip and you'll tuck that onto the end of your machine. You won't be able to get all the way into the corner, but we'll just start about here and come all the way down to the end of the zip. So pop that onto your end of your machine. And then we'll sew through the back stitch to begin with. So I'm catching the zip tape underneath there. Come as far as your machine will let you, and then do a back stitch. And you want to trim off any little thread tails, you don't want them getting caught up in your zip. And that's your piped cushion finished. I'll just pop our cushion pad in there so that we can see the finished effect. And there she is. For more sew along tutorials, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I feature lots of new kits with exciting sewing projects, and I will talk you through them all here on my channel. If you want to get into dressmaking as well, then please do look at my High Five Sew Along Club, which features a new sewing project for you to tackle every month, adding to your self-made wardrobe.